All right, I'm Tim with the Iola Register, and I'm here with Seth Bolling. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Thank you for being here on a pretty cold day.
Pretty chilly out.
I think it was 4 when I woke up.
I think it was 2 when I was driving around.
You were saying you have to go take care of some cattle after this.
I've got to go take care of livestock, just like all the other ranchers out there. Go chop ice, make sure the herds or cattle are looking fine, and there's staying warm in this Arctic freeze.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking of how to describe you or introduce you. And I guess you are what generation of Moran Locker right now?
So of Moran Locker,
you'd be the third?
I'm the fourth generation.
Fourth generation.
The Bolling, or my generation of my brother, my sister, and I are fourth generation butchers, processors, and we've been doing this for a very long time.
Wow. And you grew up in Moran Locker, right? I mean, you just grew up around it. That was kind of where when you were a kid, you were running around. I'm surprised you still have all your fingers. Most of it.
Most of them. Yeah, we, from a very young age, we were raised in that locker. We were, if we weren't with grandma, we were at the locker, or, we went to preschool just up the street when that was still open. And then we would walk down to the locker. I would wait in the bank when it was open. I would wait in the bank in the morning because I always wanted to try to be early to everything. And I'd wait down there just in the opening of the bank, and then I'd walk right next door to the preschool, so from a very young age, my brother, my sister, and I have all been a part of that.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. It's a special story. And so I guess the first question I wanted to ask you is, how have you seen Moran Locker change through the years? How's the business now compared to how it used to be? Is it still basically the same? Have there been any sort of sea changes in how Moran Locker operates and just kind of how the business or the industry functions?
I'll say that as far as what we do, it hasn't changed. Where we won't change the standard that we plan to always uphold. And so, but I guess when it comes to the processing or the packaging, more or less, that has changed to some degree, with the new innovations that have been made in packaging products. We have switched from what was once paper wrap, and it was phenomenal wrapping, what my mother and other employees would be able to do. But the new packaging that we offer is, I hate to say it, but it's superior to what it was. The paper wrapping, and the reason I say it that way is because my mother was the best paper wrapper that I've ever known. And her and my brother can both paper wrap, and my wife. But the standard of this new wrapping that we offer, you can take steaks and roasts and without opening them, put them in your refrigerator and leave them there for a month. And that is going to make the product better. Right. When it comes to beef, I don't really recommend aging pork, but when it comes to the steaks, aging is a process that helps break down the cells and makes it more tender.
Sure.
Makes it more enjoyable.
Yeah. Is it harder to be a butcher now than it used to be, do you think?
I grew up in it.
Yeah.
So, I can remember skinning deer and stuff from a very young age. I can remember helping or standing there watching them butcher the bison when I was just a little guy.
Yeah.
But I don't think anything is difficult. It's difficult to learn when it comes to cutting the meat, because you have to remember where to make the certain cuts.
Right. Yeah. Walk me through, and this when you mention your mom, your wife, your dad, your brother, I mean, this is a real family business. And so I'm just kind of curious, what a day to day is like in Moran Locker. I mean, is it what time do you get to work normally?
Well,
Does it depend on the day and depend on
it
who's
does.
calling, who shot a deer when? And
Yes,
yeah.
it does depend on the day. Yes, Fridays we start pretty early because we want to get the work done, and it's Friday. Everybody likes to get out of there somewhat, or as a general consensus.
Yeah.
People like to go home early on Friday,
Yeah.
and so we're still there till 5 o'clock every day, or 5 p.m. every day. But we start early so that we can get the animals butchered, and then we can wait on the customers. I can answer phone calls and assist customers in whatever they may need.
On a busy day, when you're butchering, how many pounds of meat do you think you move? You measure that in hundreds, or do you just look at it and say, this is how many beef we took care of today? Or
I would say that on a butcher day, we average about 8,000 pounds.
Wow.
No, that's not right. 10 times 800. Yeah, that's 8,000 pounds. And so 8,000 pounds is what we slaughter. But when it comes to processing, that depends on the week. It seems like there are certain weeks of the month where cattle are smaller than other beef. And that's not a bad thing.
Right.
But I think the most we've cut is like 4,000 pounds, maybe 5,000 pounds
in a single day,
in one day, in terms of processing. And so that'd be, perhaps even 10 beef.
Yeah. How many employees do you have? I mean, how many are you on the floor when you're working?
I think we have about 6 or 8 employees.
Yeah.
And that's, most generally, I think it's about 6 or 8.
I was surprised too. One day this was a couple years ago, but your mom, you guys still make lunch for your employees. You still do that? I mean, that's a pretty cool.
Well, I don't know if it's you guys, but it's my mom.
I don't want you cooking.
Are
you okay?
I learned from mom.
Okay.
So, but mom cooks lunch for our employees and us every day.
Yeah. That is a rarity now. I mean, that there's not a lot of businesses that do that, I'm sure.
No, it's Moran doesn't have one restaurant.
Yeah.
And it's a great thing for our employees, and it's always a good dinner.
Oh, yeah. One of the reasons I wanted to talk with you is the price of beef has been in the news a lot. The prices are high. Supply is low. There's just kind of this weird dynamic. I was reading about how with allowing more beef from Argentina to come in, that really ticked off a lot of ranchers and producers here in the United States. And I was just wanted to ask you, when you look at the price of beef and how expensive it is, how do you kind of explain that? What are the reasons behind that?
Well, the numbers of cattle are lower, and during the last few years, it's been a drought.
Right.
And so we can't water and graze as many cattle as we want. Yeah. We'd all love to put 100 cows on just 1 acre, but that's not a possibility because the grass isn't growing.
Yeah.
The corn isn't there. I know that corn price is lower than in this year than it has been in more recent years. But numbers are dropping because of drought. And, when you save back that heifer to breed, it's going to be 2 to 3 years before she's going to start production.
Right.
And so that puts a limiting factor when you've got, you could sell her now, but you got a farm payment to make. You've got a tractor payment to make. You've got all your other bills to make. And so do you want to go further in debt, or do you want to save back heifers?
Has the beef industry recovered from COVID? We did an article with you and your dad in 2021 about how during the real heat of the pandemic, people were really looking to you guys to process meat. There was a worry about food supply and just general issues. And so, um, I mean, has the cattle industry kind of bounced back from that, or are you still dealing with the effects of that 5 years later?
I'll say that, when it comes to bookings, things have dropped down a little bit. The numbers are still there for a monthly basis, but there's not 5 days of sitting there and doing nothing but answering phone calls and taking bookings,
Right.
which I'll take again, but
Yeah.
I'll do my best to work folks in. But when it comes to the numbers still being there, that's, I guess, the benefit that we have.
Yeah. Besides the price of corn and the lack of, as you talk about just grazing ability, the drought has really hampered the ability to have so many cattle around because there's just not enough food. So what other input costs besides grain and are there other input costs that help explain why ranchers and producers are having a tough time? I mean, it's hard to sell animals at a loss. I mean, you've got to make a profit on them, but there's more and more input costs. And I was just curious what other things are part of the equation. Or is that the crux of it?
There are maybe other factors that are causing beef prices to be what they are, but I think that the main contributing factors that we haven't circled back to, we haven't gotten back to the rain.
Yeah.
I know that this last year was a wet year.
Yeah.
But it started to dry off. And
you need more than 1 year. Yeah.
Yeah. We need several years of good rain. God help us. But I think that eventually prices are going to stagger and drop a little, but not to an amount that is going to hurt the rancher and farmer, but it could help benefit the consumer.
One thing I every time I read about the beef industry, a couple names always come up, or companies, JBS, Cargill, Tyson. I'm just curious what your thoughts are on these huge international, really billion-dollar companies. They seem to have a pretty strong grip on the supply of beef in this country. And I was just wondering if you view them as an existential threat, as good guys, bad guys, just what do you how do you view their role in agriculture today?
I think that they do have significant controlling factors into the beef industry, being to help with the supply. But I don't think that they're the main cause of beef prices being so high.
Okay. I mean, they've been accused of having a monopoly and kind of rigging the prices. And, I think there's been a couple calls for action against these guys, breaking them up or investigating them.
Well, that may be, but at the same time, the numbers of cattle are not there.
It's just simply a numbers game there.
And I think that I believe, I could be wrong, that it is simply a numbers game. I had this before the rain came. I had 55 cows.
Yeah.
The rain didn't come. I had to sell half my herd.
Right.
And what happened to them is they were fattened and slaughtered. The cows were turned into ground beef, which you would have bought at local
G&W or wherever. Yeah.
Local Walmarts and stuff like that. But when it comes to our facility versus their facility, is that we're not shipping in beef. What Moran Locker is offering is local raised beef,
right.
from local farmers.
Yeah.
So that Moran Locker is not. You're not just helping the Bolling family.
Right.
You're helping people like the Seekers, and
Right.
Tynans and Drakes, and there's so many more, but those are just some of the more. They all their
Yeah.
farms are those two farms are a mile from the locker, so that's
Yeah.
why I
You mentioned
present
them.
them.
Did you think you would be here? I mean, how old are you? You're
What year is it?
it's 2026.
I'm 35 now. I did.
Did you imagine when you were a kid or growing up, did you say, hey, I mean, I'm just curious, how your road to being in Moran Locker, was it a winding road? Was it a straight shot?
It was a pretty curvy road.
Yeah.
You know, went to college, did all the.
You went to Pitt State, right?
I went to Pitt State
Mm-hmm.
and got my degree, and then
Got your phone.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
Went to Pitt State, then went to work at a couple different places, and one of those places that I was working in Texas, and I got a phone call. Grandpa Chubb had a heart attack, and I'm a family man, as I think that we all know.
Yeah.
But I came back. I wanted to be around Grandpa. Didn't want that to be the last I talked to him or anything. So
Right.
I came back, and Mom and Dad said, I want you to work for me or work for them. And so that's what I did. And it's been a curvy road, but I know that this is the path, or I believe that this is the path that I'm supposed to be on.
Right. I'm curious, when you were a young man, this was 2006, I think. I mean, you had a pretty serious automobile accident. The way I understand it, you don't remember much of it, but I mean, I'm kind of curious how that accident has impacted you now. Is it something you think is pretty core to your life story, or is it something that it happened, it wasn't I'm over it? I don't know. I'm just kind of curious how much that has defined you, or you see it as a real key point of your story.
I think that incident in my life had was a helpful, or not a helpful, but it was a deciding factor in the things that I do in life. As a young boy, we all have dreams, and whether our dream was to play in the NFL or play, for college ball or something like that, that was once a dream.
Right.
But after that accident, sports weren't available.
Right.
Because I was disabled.
Yeah.
Couldn't hardly walk. Still can't most of the time.
You made it up the stairs. Okay.
I made it up the stairs. But this new path that I'm on, I guess because of that accident, is the path that God wanted me on. I'm not just a pastor, or not just a meat cutter, but I'm a pastor. I'm a spokesperson for God, and that is my true calling.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, that's a part of you that I didn't really know. I mean, I guess I had kind of offhand heard that you were a pastor. I remember, I think you had mentioned it a time or two. But I mean, faith is a key part of your life. It's fundamental to who you are and how you kind of see your role in this world, huh?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I watched a clip before I got here, and so this guy goes around and he'll buy lunch for people, and he takes his Bible with him. And he goes to the counter and he says, "Do you accept Bible pay?" And the person will act confused, and they say, "I don't know." And he'll say, "Well, let me try it." And he puts his Bible on there and it pays for it. And that's just the fact, is that Jesus paid it all for everyone, not just me, not just you, but every single soul. God and Jesus claimed for them.
Huh. How do you work that faith into your kind of day to day? I mean, I imagine that you are pretty darn busy at Moran Locker. I mean, this is something when I've called you, I usually hear a lot of things going on. When I've walked in the store, usually there's a lot of motion. I mean, this is not just something where you guys are sitting behind screens. Um, I mean, how does it play a role in how you run your business, or just kind of how you think about your presence maybe in Moran? There's not a lot of businesses in Moran left right now. In fact, I just had the mayor in here a couple of weeks ago and just kind of talking about how much the absence of Moran or of Marmonton Market has kind of affected the town. How do you kind of see that as your role in the community, I guess?
Moran Locker's been there for a long time before the Bollings owned it. And so I think the Moran Locker is a benefit for the community. I guess I wish more folks realized that in the community, because, we've got ground beef right there. Mm-hmm. You don't have, no offense to Iowa or anywhere other, but you don't have to come to town to get some of your groceries.
Right.
We've got ground beef. We've got pork chops, chicken breasts. Mm-hmm. We just started offering a bundle at Moran because of the store closing here in town. But if more folks would come in, then they would see our products.
Yeah.
And we would be able to help more in the community, perhaps.
I want to pivot back to the issue of just the beef and the cattle industry. I was reading about how for the first time in history now, Brazil produces more beef than the United States. And there were various degrees of alarm about that. Some producers were just saying, it's just a question of quality versus quantity. Some were saying this is a big problem. We've got to figure out how to recoup the number one spot. But a lot of people talked about how hard it is to be a producer and just to be in agriculture in general today, whether it's row crops or cattle. And so I'm kind of curious, if you had a magic wand, or if you were president and you just kind of had carte blanche to snap and make some things possible, what would you do? Because you have cattle and you're also a butcher. And so I think you talk to a lot of producers. What do you see as some of the things that would help make life easier for farmers, or some policy things that could change, or just even some just dream things that you would like to see and know that they would make a difference for farmers?
Well, if I had a magic wand, it'd be 70 degrees year round, and grass
always enough deep, rain, and
the sun would always be shining, and the ponds would always be full. But I don't have that. Yeah. I know a guy. You can come to church and we can talk about that. But I think that when it comes to shipping in beef and things, I'm not for it in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
We're in the United States of America, and when it comes to your own household, if you and your neighbor's house burned down, whose house would you go? Likely you might say that you would go to your neighbor's house first, but you're probably going to try to find a shelter for yourself. And I think that in some degree, that's the way America needs to be when it comes to agriculture. We need to support our local folks first.
Not bring in a bunch of beef from other countries. Not bring in
a bunch of corn and beef and everything else, or whatever it may be in terms of agriculture, from other countries.
All that does is that handicaps the local producers here, right?
That hurts us, the local producer, like you say, because we also have mouths to feed, and we also have to be able to afford to pay our taxes and all these other things that we need to afford. But I'm not concerned about other countries and their economic crisis that may be going on. I'm concerned about America first.
Yeah, I mean, I that summarizes the reaction that I heard or read and heard from when you talk to a lot of producers and they're saying a lot of that beef that's coming in from Argentina and from other countries, it's not even really going to affect the prices here that consumers will pay. And all it does is it makes life harder for producers who are finally having prices where it at least makes sense for them to continue. I worry about young farmers. I mean, you're 35. Do you see a lot of people your age in the industry, or do you think it's becoming harder and harder for people your age to get into to agriculture?
If, for instance, someone were to move in from nowhere and never been a farmer or rancher, or have been in that field of work,
Hmm.
um, I think it would be difficult. Now, when it comes to a lot of the local folks that I know and probably can recite phone numbers for you,
Hmm.
uh,
Hmm.
it's a generational thing.
Right.
Moran Locker is not just generational, but so is the Siefker Tynan farm. So
Right.
is the Drake. So is so many others.
Right.
And I know that other customers may be upset that I'm not mentioning them, but and they'll, I hope, forgive me. But
I think they will.
so they just,
Yeah. I mean, this is something that's been going on. But again, I guess my question is the barriers, the cost barriers to getting into the game, not only the scarcity of land, but just, I mean, being able to make a profit. It just seems that it's really an industry, even with cattle, where it is really, really tight, and it hasn't been um, too many years back where we didn't have rain for a couple months. I mean, 2, 3 years ago, there was, and you're right, yesterday was, or last year was an okay year, but you can't just have one okay year every 5 years and make a living off of this.
no, not at all. The number, the economic portion of what causes beef producers to not want to perhaps get in the game
Mhm.
is, what happens if we lose one?
Right.
Um, I had a sick one a year or two ago. I won't ever forget him because it was just, I don't know, he was something special
Hmm.
about him, and he ended up getting sick and a little more sick, and I did everything I could. I fought tooth and nail to keep that calf alive, and just like he would be,
Right.
your favorite dog.
Right. Right.
You're gonna take him to the vet,
Yeah. Yeah.
or your kids to the doctor. I don't know which one you want to call it, but there are so many contributing factors for make it difficult for a new person to get into it. I invite them. The cost of land is high, in my opinion, in the state of Kansas.
Yeah.
And we could get into that too, but there's just a lot of factors to weigh in on when it comes to folks wanting to get into the industry. I invite you to take a tour of a farm, work for a month or two for a local farmer.
Yeah.
They're probably hiring, especially coming up on spring and planting.
Right.
But there's a lot of things that someone needs to consider before just moving to Moran or Allen County, Kansas, and buying a farm.
Right. When you look to the future and you think about kind of both sides of the coin, for you at Moran Locker and for um, your work as cattle producer and thinking of your herd, what do you think? Are you optimistic? Are you a little bit worried, or what do you think when you think about the next 5, 10 years?
Well, I've kind of always been taught by my grandfather and father that hard work will pay.
Hmm.
So when I think about the market futures on cattle or futures on corn, whatever it may be, if I just grit down and continue working, things will work out. It's not up to really any of us what the future holds. I again know a guy.
Yeah.
But uh hard work will get you through is what way I kind of look at it. Um, you know,
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you, Seth. I really appreciate your time. Good luck. And thank you for all you're doing for Moran, for the community, and for Allen County.
yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak. I hope I didn't sound too ignorant on any of this. And
Absolutely
if there's questions or somebody needs a half a beef, I know a lot of local farmers have got a half a beef for sale. And
Just for the record, every time I call Moran Locker, that is what you say when I pick up.
well,
or when you pick up.
I have caller ID, so I know who it is. Just I'm always trying to promote my local farmer. Always trying to promote them because if they grow, I grow.
Right.
And growing my neighbor's facility means a lot to me. It's a community. The Moran's a little community. Iowa's a bigger community, but it's still little compared to others. And if we all band together in this spectrum, I think we're going to work through this because hard work pays off. And helping each other in that fashion, the local money that you spend on something, whether it be at JD's down the street or Showmaker in Moran, or any local business, that's going to have a larger contributing factor to your local community's economic power and ability than it is to go spend it at the big corporations. That money doesn't stay here. That people might work there and get paid an hourly salary, but on the larger spectrum, that money doesn't help us, in my opinion.
No, I think the impact's pretty clear. When you look at our local economies, I mean, for every dollar that you spend locally, so much more of it stays here and matters to our local economy than a tiny, tiny drop in a big old bucket up in Johnson County or, other parts of the state. It's really important. Keep it up.
Doing my best.